Welcome to the Human Archive. If you enjoy original science fiction stories about humanity finding its place among the stars, subscribe and join us for the next one. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. Defeat. Prefect Orshak Drenn had governed 4 conquered worlds before Earth, and none had surprised him after the armies were gone. Resistance always changed shape after defeat. First came disbelief, then anger, then scattered violence, then exhaustion. If occupation forces remained disciplined, restored food distribution, reopened hospitals, kept utilities running, and punished only those responsible for attacks, most populations eventually chose survival over rebellion. Orshack did not consider that cowardice. He considered it civilization. The Sirath Imperium had taken Earth in 11 weeks. Human orbital defenses fought hard and died harder. Ground forces turned cities into killing grounds, then withdrew when holding them became impossible. Several planetary command nodes survived longer than Imperial intelligence predicted. It did not matter. The Imperium owned the sky. Once that happened, everything below became a scheduling problem. Orshack arrived in the occupied city of St. Aurelia 3 days after its final military district surrendered. From the windows of the old human administrative tower, he watched Sirathi engineers restore power to neighborhoods that had been dark for nearly a month. Food trucks moved under military escort. Hospitals reopened. Water systems came back online. Weapons collection points appeared in every district. Public transmissions were filtered. Major transport routes were monitored. Known military officers were detained. Orshack expected insurgency and got it. A human cell attacked a munitions convoy on the 7th day. Imperial intelligence mapped the attackers' communications and arrested them within 48 hours. Another group sabotaged a substation supplying occupation headquarters. Their leader was identified through financial records and detained. The cell dissolved. A third tried to coordinate attacks across 3 cities using encrypted civilian networks. Sirathi analysts traced traffic patterns, compromised the routing chain, and captured 26 organizers. The remaining members went silent. Earth followed the pattern. Not quickly, humans were stubborn, but the pattern was there. Orshack had seen it before. He reviewed daily reports from across the planet. Unauthorized gatherings were declining. Armed incidents were becoming smaller. Large resistance formations had fragmented into local cells with poor contact between them. Human military remnants still existed in mountains, deserts, ruined industrial zones, and scattered rural regions, but they no longer possessed the communications infrastructure required to act as a single force. Earth's resistance was becoming local. Local resistance could be isolated. Isolated resistance could be exhausted. Orshack stood over a planetary map and felt the quiet satisfaction of a system working as designed. Maintain current policy, he ordered. No collective punishment, no reprisals without evidence. Keep civilian transport open wherever security allows. One of his aides inclined his head. Some commanders are requesting broader detention authority. Denied. Prefect. Fear produces obedience quickly. It also produces martyrs. Orshack touched one district on the map. We are here to end resistance, not fertilize it. The aide bowed. Earth would calm, not because humans would love the Imperium. They did not need to. They only needed to decide resistance was lonely, dangerous, and pointless. 3 weeks later, Orshack received the first report about a wall. He almost deleted it. Chapter 2. The Blank Wall. The report described unauthorized public art. Orshack stared at the heading. He had invasion logistics to manage, 3 food distribution disputes, a damaged orbital elevator, a labor shortage at 2 cargo terminals, an entire planet to pacify. Someone had painted a wall. He sent the report back to municipal administration. They returned it. Crowds were gathering. That made it relevant. The wall stood beside the remains of a transit station damaged during the invasion. Imperial crews had cleared debris, stabilized the structure, and painted over human military slogans left during the final retreat. The surviving concrete face was broad, pale, and blank. Then someone started painting on it at night. Intelligence identified the artist as Nadine Montrose. Civilian, former public art instructor. No military service. No known resistance affiliation. No criminal record. Before the invasion, she had painted schools, transit tunnels, memorials, and neighborhood projects. Orshack opened surveillance footage. At first, the work appeared harmless. A hand, a face, a figure, then another. Human bodies gathered beneath a damaged skyline. No guns, no military emblems, no flags, no slogans against the Imperium. Orshack studied the imagery. It did not tell anyone to fight. That made it harder to classify. The artist worked mostly at night. Others began helping. A man left a bucket of dark pigment beside the wall and walked away. A woman brought brushes. Two teenagers painted background figures while Nadine worked on the central composition. An elderly human sat nearby and watched for an hour. No one appeared to be in charge except the artist, and even she seemed less like a commander than someone trying to keep wet paint from running. Orshack requested her biography. Nothing changed his assessment. Civilian artist, professionally talented, politically unremarkable. Then intelligence attached an audio fragment captured nearby. A man identified as Keon Ridley had approached Nadine during the second night. Former Municipal Emergency Planning Officer. Low-level suspected resistance association. The recording was imperfect, but the exchange was clear enough. Keon asked, "What does painting this accomplish?" Nadine kept working. After several seconds, she answered, "I don't know yet." Orshack replayed that line. It sounded genuine. That reassured him. A revolutionary usually believed they knew what they were building. Nadine Montrose appeared to be painting because she could. 2 days later, she finished. Orshack saw the completed mural through a surveillance feed. At its center stood a human figure under a blackened sky, one hand resting on another person's shoulder. Behind them stretched hundreds more. Children, workers, the elderly, the injured, people carrying books, tools, bags, food. Above them, earth rose through smoky gray paint. At the bottom were 4 words, "You are not alone." Orshack stared at them for a long time. He understood propaganda. The Imperium used it carefully. Images could normalize authority. Repeat symbols enough and populations learned to associate them with stability, legitimacy, identity. This mural did something else. It offered no leader, no organization, no demand, only companionship. Orshack did not like that. By evening, humans were leaving things beneath the wall: flowers, food, handwritten names, photographs, messages to the missing. A woman placed a child's shoe beside the mural and sat there until dark. No one shouted. No one attacked an Imperial patrol. No laws were broken except the original unauthorized painting. Yet the crowd grew. Orshack watched until well past midnight. Then he made what he considered the least dangerous choice. "Remove it before dawn," he ordered. His aide asked, "Arrest the artist." "No." "Public warning." "No." "Then simply erase it." "Yes." No spectacle, no prisoner, no martyr. By morning, the wall was blank again. Orshack considered the problem closed. At noon, his aide returned. "There are 11. Orshack looked up. 11 what? "Murals." Chapter 3. 11 walls. The copies were bad. That was the first thing Orshack noticed. One was painted in black and white across the doors of a loading warehouse. Another used cheap house paint. A third was little more than thick charcoal lines under a bridge. One had earth shaped incorrectly. One central figure possessed absurdly long arms. A school wall contained a version clearly painted by children. All were recognizable: the crowd, the hand on the shoulder, the damaged sky, the world above. "You are not alone." Orshack reviewed location data. The copies did not radiate outward from Nadine's neighborhood in any neat pattern. They appeared across distant districts almost simultaneously. Somebody had photographed the original. The image had moved through personal devices before local filters caught it. Others reproduced it from memory. A factory worker scratched the central silhouette into a locker door. A transit worker painted only the words beneath an Imperial schedule board. A child drew the figures in chalk. The mural had already escaped the wall. Orshack ordered intelligence to identify the distribution network. There wasn't one, at least not yet. That bothered him. He had expected to find Nadine communicating with organizers. Instead, surveillance showed her standing in front of one of the copies, looking startled. She did not know the painter. She did not appear pleased so much as overwhelmed. Orshack chose not to arrest her. Nadine was useful while observed. If she contacted a hidden organization, intelligence could follow. For 3 days, they followed. She bought food, returned to her apartment, visited the ruins of the original transit station, argued with an occupation clerk about reimbursement for confiscated painting supplies. No secret meetings, no coded transmissions. Meanwhile, the number of murals climbed past 100, then 500. Families added missing relatives to the painted crowd. Factory workers gave the figures tools. Farmers painted crops in their hands. One coastal district added water behind the skyline. Another placed a moon above Earth. The image was mutating. Imperial analysts complained that there was no canonical version. Orshack found the phrase interesting. Find the official source image. There may not be one, Prefect. There is always a source. The original was the source. Then use that. The copies no longer match it. Orshack stared at the analyst. Symbols require consistency. The analyst lowered his gaze. Humans do not appear to agree. That sounded like a weakness. It did not behave like one. Crowds gathered around every version, not constantly, not enough to justify mass dispersal, but regularly. People stopped, looked, added something, left. The murals became part of the landscape. Orshack ordered municipal crews to remove only those painted on critical imperial infrastructure. Private and neighborhood walls were left alone. He had no desire to create thousands of confrontations over paint. It was the correct decision. Then intelligence noticed the blue marks. Chapter 4. Signal in the paint. The first repeated anomaly appeared beside the hand of a background figure. A thin blue line, nothing remarkable. Many murals contained blue. Then an analyst found it on 6 other copies. Same placement, same shade, all within districts where occupation patrols had difficulty locating underground medical support. Orshack ordered quiet observation. 2 days later, a wounded human resistance fighter disappeared into a building near one of the blue mark murals. Imperial security raided the site. They found a hidden clinic, medical supplies, 2 injured fighters, a civilian doctor. The blue mark meant something. Orshack felt relief. At last, structure could be mapped. He ordered every mural photographed and categorized. Patterns emerged. A small open door appeared near safe passages around checkpoints. A broken star appeared near hidden food caches. 3 painted hands marked areas where medical contacts were available. Intelligence found several. Arrested organizers. Seized supplies. The system began to make sense. Then the symbols changed. The blue line disappeared almost everywhere within 48 hours. The open door mark vanished next. New details appeared: flowers, buttons, birds, unusual shoes, background figures facing the wrong direction. Most meant nothing. Some did. Orshack's analysts could not tell which until after something happened. Human civilians were changing the mural constantly for ordinary reasons. A mother painted her missing son into one version, wearing a yellow jacket. 3 streets away, children copied the yellow jacket because they liked it. A resistance cell used a yellow flower to indicate surveillance. Another neighborhood used the same flower purely because a local species of plant bloomed there. Signal dissolved into culture. Orshack began to understand the difficulty. A secret code could be broken. This was not secret. That was the problem. Millions of innocent people were generating noise around whatever meaningful variations resistance cells used. To suppress the signal completely, Orshack would have to suppress the mural itself. Every version, every alteration, every child's drawing, every scratched phrase, he refused. Mass confiscation over art would produce exactly the anger his occupation doctrine tried to avoid. Instead, he increased pattern analysis. It worked sometimes. Imperial intelligence found safe houses, intercepted a courier chain, disrupted one weapon's cache. The resistance adjusted. No central codebook appeared. No master set of instructions. A human municipal planner named Keon Ridley surfaced repeatedly near districts where useful conventions spread. Orshack ordered him watched. Keon behaved carefully. He never carried lists, never transmitted broad instructions. He met small groups in person. Symbols appeared, worked briefly, then disappeared. Orshack knew decentralized insurgency. He had fought it before. This was different. The art gave disconnected groups a common visual surface without requiring them to join one organization. The mural was becoming infrastructure. He disliked that word. Then a military fuel depot exploded. A mural had been painted on the outside wall the night before. Orshack ordered Nadine Montrose arrested. Chapter 5. Nobody. Nadine entered interrogation wearing paint on one sleeve. Orshack noticed because it seemed absurd. The person whose image covered half the city looked less like a revolutionary than someone interrupted during work. She sat across from him in a plain room, no restraints, no guards inside. Orshack had no interest in theatrics. He projected thousands of mural images behind him. Nadine stared. Some showed the original composition. Others barely resembled it. Different colors, different faces. Different planets, entire neighborhoods inserted into the crowd. Orshack asked, "Who controls the reproductions?" "Nobody." He had expected that answer. He still disliked it. "Who distributes the approved variations?" "There aren't approved variations." Who authorizes symbolic changes? Nobody. Orshack brought up the blue hand mark. This indicated a medical network. Nadine looked at it. I've never seen that one. He displayed another, safe passage. She shook her head, and this. No idea. He leaned forward. You expect me to believe the creator of this symbol does not understand how it is being used. Nadine looked at the images again. I created one mural. It exists on more than 20,000 surfaces in this city alone. That wasn't me. Then who determines the correct version? Nadine almost laughed. There isn't one. Orshack studied her face. No deception cues he recognized. He had translators check human vocal stress, nothing conclusive. He showed her a copy painted with the central figure replaced by an old woman holding a wrench. Nadine smiled. That's good. You approve. She did a better hand than I did. You do not know the artist. No. Orshack felt a growing irritation that had nothing to do with Nadine personally. In Sirathi culture, symbols belong to institutions. Military insignia belong to units. Religious iconography belonged to orders. Political art belonged to movements. An image that belonged to everyone belonged to no one, which made authority over it impossible to locate. Why did you design the original so simply? Nadine was quiet for a moment. Because people were helping. Explain. I used to teach community murals. If only I can paint it, then it's mine. If a kid can paint the important parts, it's ours. That was the closest she came to sounding like a strategist. Orshack doubted she understood why. He ordered her detained, not publicly charged, not harmed, simply removed from the city. He expected the mural network to lose coherence without its creator. The next morning, intelligence sent him a new image. The crowd was still there. But one figure was missing. A blank shape stood in the center. Orshack stared. Another copy arrived. Same blank figure, then another. By evening, the empty shape appeared everywhere. Nadine, he understood that much. Then families began writing other names inside the blank space. Missing children, detained workers, dead soldiers, disappeared organizers. The blank figure stopped belonging to Nadine within days. Orshack had captured the artist. The art had barely noticed. Chapter 6. The day nobody worked. The warning arrived as a collection of unrelated reports. A mural in a cargo district had gained 3 small clocks. Another showed all its figures sitting. A third replaced their tools with empty hands. Human analysts working for the occupation dismissed most of the variations as artistic response to labor shortages. Sirathi intelligence disagreed. Something was coming. Orshack ordered increased monitoring of transit hubs and factories. He moved reserve security units closer to industrial districts. He warned occupation managers to expect sabotage. Sabotage did not come. Morning shift began. Workers stayed home. At first, the disruption looked local. One cargo terminal reported 30% attendance, then 12%. A manufacturing complex opened with no line operators. Municipal rail ran on emergency staffing. 2 occupation administrative centers discovered that most human clerks had called in sick. By mid-morning, whole districts had stopped reporting for imperial priority work. Orshack stood inside command headquarters watching the planetary operations map turn amber. Deploy replacement labor. Available Sirathi personnel are insufficient. Use auxiliary units. They can operate some systems, not all. Offer double ration credits for returning workers. The order went out. Some came back, not enough. Orshack threatened loss of work privileges. That broke several smaller stoppages. He negotiated concessions with one transport union. Rail service resumed in 2 districts. He arrested organizers where intelligence had actual evidence. By the 3rd day, parts of the strike weakened. Orshack felt the situation turning. Then human workers changed tactics. Hospitals stayed staffed. Food warehouses operated. Water treatment continued. Civilian power maintenance continued. Imperial military cargo remained delayed. Occupation vehicle repairs developed mysterious backlogs. Fuel transfers suffered clerical errors. Rail systems worked perfectly until military priority orders appeared, at which point switches required prolonged inspection. Orshack stared at the reports. This was not economic collapse. The humans were maintaining society while selectively starving the occupation. That was far more dangerous. Someone had taught millions of people where resistance could happen without a gun. Orshack requested arrest recommendations. The list contained thousands of names, then tens of thousands, too many. He thought of the mural. Too many walls, too many painters, too many hands. The strike lasted 9 days. It did not defeat the occupation, but it changed Orshack's understanding of what he was occupying. Earth's armies had been broken. Its society had begun behaving like an insurgent network. Chapter 7. Orshack fights back. Orshack adapted. That was why he was still a prefect. He knew the danger of mistaking difficulty for inevitability. He expanded local negotiations with human labor groups. Districts that returned to work received food bonuses and transport privileges. Imperial managers were ordered to distinguish political refusal from genuine maintenance problems. Intelligence infiltrated several resistance courier lines. A mural variation marking supply routes was decoded. 3 caches were seized in 1 week. Kian Ridley disappeared before security could arrest him. Orshack considered that evidence of improving pressure. Then the mural appeared on Luna, not a photograph. A new painting. Humans in pressure suits stood beneath Earth. You are not alone. 2 days later, another appeared on Mars, then on a mining station beyond Jupiter. Still human territory, still understandable. Then came the first alien version. A report arrived from a Sarathi subject moon 17 light-years away. Dockworkers there had painted figures of their own species standing beneath their homeworld. Different anatomy, different sky, same composition. The local translation rendered the phrase as, "You do not stand by yourself." Orshack read the message twice. A second conquered species copied it a week later, then a third. The Imperial Ministry of Stability demanded explanation. Orshack gave them one. The mural was being transmitted through civilian networks, smuggled recordings, personal memory, and travelers. The ministry ordered image suppression. Orshack objected. Suppressing every version would be impossible without crippling ordinary communication. The order stood. Imperial filters blocked known visual patterns. People simplified the image. Filters blocked the phrase. People changed the words. People traced the figures in dust. Drew them on cloth. Painted only the hand touching another shoulder. A symbol reduced far enough became difficult to distinguish from ordinary life. Orshack's reports grew increasingly unpleasant. A subject world dock crew refused military cargo. A colonial tax shipment arrived late because human-style murals appeared across the port. Auxiliary soldiers found the image painted inside barracks. Most remained loyal. A few did not. Imperial officials blamed Earth. Orshack did too, but not in the way they meant. Humanity had not exported an organization. It had exported a method of recognition. That made it harder to kill. Chapter 8. The Masterpiece. Orshack brought Nadine back into interrogation after 6 months. She looked thinner, angrier, still alive. He had refused every request from harder-line officials to make an example of her. Examples were exactly what the mural consumed. This time he did not begin with questions. He showed her the images. Earth, Luna, Mars, then alien worlds. A 6-limbed species painted standing beneath a red gas giant. A translucent species gathered beneath twin suns. A Sarathi dissident version showed Imperial citizens standing beside conquered subjects. Nadine stopped breathing for a second. Orshack watched carefully. "You did not know." "No." He believed her. "Did you intend this?" Nadine stared at thousands of variations. "I intended the first wall." Nothing else, no boast, no claim of genius. That disturbed him more than pride would have. He asked, "Why do they keep changing it?" She looked at one mural where the central figures were children. "Because it belongs to whoever needs it." Orshack dismissed her. He sat alone for a long time afterward. His predecessors had taught him how to destroy movements. Find the leader, find the command structure, find the resource chain, find the ideology's gatekeepers. This had no gatekeeper. The image became whatever the next painter required. That flexibility should have weakened it. Instead, it made ownership impossible. Orshack finally understood why Nadine had been so useless as a prisoner. She had created something she could not surrender. Chapter 9. The Empire has too many walls. Imperial orders became less reasonable as the crisis spread. Restore Earth productivity, suppress mural reproduction, identify coordinating leadership, prevent cross-system imitation, all simultaneously. Orshack complied where compliance was possible. He increased patrols around military logistics sites. He compromised another resistance courier network. He broke a strike in one manufacturing corridor by granting wage guarantees. He arrested several organizers who had coordinated sabotage. The occupation still functioned. Then the planet-wide general strike began. This one was different. Orshack recognized it within an hour. Cargo terminals stopped loading Imperial transports. Port crews continued handling food and civilian medical shipments. Power technicians fulfilled civilian demand while delaying transfers to military depots. Transit operators rerouted passenger service around occupation priority corridors. Factory workers reported equipment faults whenever military production orders appeared. Civilian systems stayed alive. Imperial systems slowed. Human resistance fighters emerged from months of fragmentation. Not everywhere, not in massed armies, small units. They hit isolated military posts only where local workers had already crippled reinforcement routes. They attacked supply points, not hospitals. Communications relays, not civilian grids. They used the population as information. A patrol entered one district and found every street empty. Another chased a resistance team toward a mural marked with a small yellow flower. The team vanished. Later, intelligence learned the flower had warned them away from surveillance. A wounded fighter disappeared through an alley marked by 3 blue-painted hands, a hidden clinic. Orshack's analysts recognized the symbol too late. The occupation headquarters wall was repainted that night. Imperial maintenance erased the mural before dawn. It returned by noon. They erased it again. It returned. By the 7th painting, Orshack told them to stop. An aide stared. Prefect. Stop wasting personnel. The mural remained. Across the city, it appeared on warehouses, schools, roads, ruined towers, loading gates, retaining walls, bus shelters, and abandoned armor. Orshack stood at the command window. The occupation still possessed tanks, aircraft, orbital guns, armored infantry. It still controlled the major government buildings. And yet the systems that made those things useful were failing one small refusal at a time. A military transport could fly. Its fuel had not arrived. A patrol could move. Its maintenance request sat unprocessed. A garrison could call for reinforcement. The local route map had become unreliable because civilian technicians had stopped updating Imperial channels. This was not military superiority. It was governability collapsing around superior weapons. Orshack looked at the wall outside headquarters. A crowd had formed beside the mural. No weapons, no slogans beyond the 4 words. "You are not alone." He finally understood the strategic cost of those words. They had answered the occupation's most powerful weapon. Isolation. Chapter 10. The General Strike. The Imperium ordered Orshack to crush the strike. He requested clarification. The reply was blunt. Mass arrests authorized, forced labor authorized, collective ration penalties authorized. Orshack read the directive twice, then refused 3 of its provisions. His military commander demanded an explanation. "We can fill detention centers," Orshack said. "We cannot replace the planet." "Then compel them." "With whom?" The commander gestured toward the city below. "With us." Orshack looked at him. "How many water technicians do you command?" Silence. "How many rail engineers? How many hospital administrators? How many grid controllers? How many agricultural dispatchers?" The commander said nothing. Orshack continued. "You can force one human to lift a crate. You cannot force an entire civilization to remain complex at gunpoint." The strike expanded. Some communities did not join. Some feared retaliation. Some preferred imperial stability. Some collaborated. Orshack used them. Occupation systems stayed functional in several districts because humans chose to keep working. That mattered. But the movement no longer required unanimity. It required enough refusal in enough places. Keon Ridley's name reappeared in intelligence. He had helped coordinate neighborhood emergency plans that ensured food and medical systems continued while imperial priorities failed. Orshack authorized his arrest. Security nearly caught him. Nearly. A crowd leaving a mural gathering simply failed to remember which direction he had gone. 30 witnesses, no useful answer. The military commander wanted punishment. Orshack denied it. Punishing 30 civilians for silence would produce 300 more. He was learning, not quickly enough. Chapter 11. The Wrong Kind of Rebellion. Human military remnants attacked an Imperial communications depot outside the city. The operation would have been impossible months earlier. Now civilian workers had already disabled 2 automated gates. A transport dispatcher delayed the nearest reinforcement convoy. A mural variation in an adjacent neighborhood warned fighters away from an unexpected patrol. The attack succeeded in 12 minutes. Imperial losses were limited. The resistance withdrew before heavier forces arrived. Orshack reviewed the battle. The human fighters were still technologically inferior. Their weapons had not improved, their armor had not improved, their numbers were not overwhelming. What changed was the environment around them. Every civilian delay became tactical advantage. Every hidden room became logistics. Every wall became potential information. Every worker became, at minimum, someone who might choose not to help the occupier. Human armed resistance had not become stronger by itself. The society around it had reconnected. Orshack sent a report to the imperial capital. Earth pacification no longer achievable through leadership removal or network disruption. The ministry replied. Identify central coordination. Orshack stared at the message, then laughed once, no humor in it. He had spent half a year trying. There was no central coordination to identify. There were centers, many, temporary, local, disposable. A movement with no head could still think. That offended every Sarathi instinct about organization. It also worked. Chapter 12. Contraction. The first Imperial withdrawal was officially called a redeployment. 3 occupation brigades left Earth to reinforce subject worlds experiencing strikes and unrest. Orshack knew what that meant. The Empire had begun paying for the mural somewhere else. A second redeployment followed. Then a third. Human resistance grew bolder. Imperial patrol zones contracted toward orbital facilities, major military depots, and administrative centers. Human neighborhoods outside those areas began operating openly without occupation approval. The mural appeared on government buildings before the Imperium had formally left them. Orshack received direct orders from the capital, hold Earth. He sent back the logistical picture. Orbital dominance, secure, major cities nominally controlled. Civilian compliance, insufficient. Industrial productivity for imperial purposes, collapsing. Auxiliary reliability, degrading. Military reinforcement requirement, increasing. Subject world unrest, spreading. He ended the report with a sentence no prefect wanted to write. Continued occupation requires escalation beyond current political and logistical value. The reply took 11 hours, prepare phased withdrawal. Orshack read it alone. He felt neither relief nor shame, only exhaustion. The Imperium could still destroy St. Aureliah. It could bombard resistance districts. It could arrest hundreds of thousands. It could turn occupation into terror. That might preserve territorial possession temporarily. It would not restore rule, and every body would become another figure in the mural. Orshack began planning evacuation. He intended to leave Earth the way he had governed it, without pointless bloodshed. Chapter 13. The withdrawal. Human forces expected a trap. Orshack respected that. He opened negotiations through neutral intermediaries. Military withdrawal corridors, prisoner releases, protection for civilians, no attacks on departing Imperial ships. Human resistance leaders did not speak with one voice. That complicated everything. Several accepted. One cell refused. A local commander threatened to attack anyway. The neighborhood surrounding his base stopped supplying him. 3 days later, he accepted the agreement. Orshack noticed that human decentralization could restrain violence as effectively as it enabled resistance. The withdrawal began. Orbital troops left first. Administrative personnel followed. Garrisons pulled back district by district. Humans emerged as soon as Imperial patrols disappeared. Some cheered, some cried, some simply went to work restoring damaged systems. Murals appeared faster than flags. Orshack watched from the command transport as St. Aureliah changed color beneath him. Walls that had been Imperial gray became crowded with human figures. Then the reports from other systems arrived. 3 subject worlds entered open revolt. Then 7. Imperial forces abandoned peripheral territories to protect core routes. The Sirath Imperium did not collapse in a single day. Empires rarely did. It contracted, lost taxes, lost ports, lost auxiliaries, lost legitimacy. Each retreat made the next rebellion easier. Each mural told another population someone else had already tried. Earth became free before the Empire was gone. Orshack found that distinction important. The humans had not destroyed the Imperium with paint. They had made resistance recognizable. The rest had taken labor, blood, planning, risk, and millions of small decisions. Chapter 14. The Wall Remains. Nadine Montrose was released 2 days before the last Imperial administrative ship departed St. Aureliah. Orshack saw the release order. He signed it himself. They did not speak again. He did not think they needed to. Years later, while serving as an advisor during the Sirath political transition, Orshack received a recording from Earth. The original transit station still stood. The first mural was gone beneath layers of old Imperial paint. Nadine had returned. So had Kian Ridley. The recording showed them standing before the blank wall. Kian asked something. The audio translation rendered it. "You going to repaint it?" Nadine shook her head. "No." Then people began arriving, children carrying brushes, workers with paint buckets, former soldiers, teachers, families. No one waited for Nadine. Someone painted the first figure, someone else added another. A child painted Earth badly enough that Orshack, despite himself, laughed. Nadine watched. Eventually, she took a brush. She did not correct the child. She added one person to the crowd. Orshack replayed that part twice. He had spent much of his career believing power came from control. The mural had survived because its creator gave control away almost immediately. He did not write that thought in any official report. Some lessons sounded worse when explained. Chapter 15. The Museum Problem. The Galactic Liberation Museum opened 19 years after the withdrawal from Earth. By then, the Sirath Imperium existed only in reduced constitutional form. Several former subject worlds were independent. Others remained associated voluntarily. Earth had become one of the loudest supporters of the museum, mostly because humans seemed unable to resist arguing about how history should be displayed. Orshack attended the opening as part of a diplomatic delegation. He found the section on Earth uncomfortable. His own occupation orders appeared behind glass. So did photographs of early murals. One curator approached Nadine Montrose near the central exhibit. She was older now. Her hair had gone silver. Paint still marked one thumbnail. The curator asked which surviving mural should be designated the authentic version. Nadine answered, "None of them." The curator looked alarmed. Museums preferred definitive answers. They walked outside. Across from the entrance stood a public wall covered with figures. Humans, former Sirathi subjects, Sirathi dissidents. Children from species Orshack did not recognize. Different skies, different worlds. Different hands touching different shoulders. Near one edge, someone had left an empty section. A bucket of paint sat beneath it. The curator asked again, which version belongs in the museum? Nadine picked up a brush. She handed it to him. "That one isn't finished."